ladies and gentlemen, before you had a name, you had a purpose. Before you took your first breath, heaven already breathed destiny into your bones. But tragically, we now live in an age where men chase position but ignore purpose, where women fight for likes but forget they were born loved. You are not here to exist. You are here to execute a divine plan. You are not random. You are strategically placed by the Most High for a time such as this. And if you do not wake up to God's purpose, you will be busy living a life that was never meant for you. This is not a speech. It is a revelation, a mandate, a spiritual alarm clock. If you have ever wondered why you're still alive, still breathing, still walking through doors you didn't deserve, stay with me. Because this message might just be the divine answer your soul has been praying for. They told you that you are a statistic. They told you that your life is the product of biology, genetics, environment. But I stand to declare that before your mother met your father, before your heartbeat found rhythm, before the world saw your face, you were known in the heavens, you were called by name, you were not born by accident. You were born on assignment. You are not here simply to survive, to wake up, go to work, and return to sleep in a cycle of confusion. No, you are a divine idea wrapped in flesh, an answer to a problem that exists in this generation. You were born with purpose etched into your DNA. You are a carrier of vision, a vessel of destiny. You are not just living, you are here to fulfill something eternal. The tragedy is not that people die. The real tragedy is that many die without ever knowing why they were born. They live trapped in imitation, pursuing careers, trends, and lifestyles that were never designed for them. They become experts in comparison, champions of confusion. Because when you do not know the reason for your existence, everything will look attractive, everything will seem urgent, but the man who knows his purpose is not distracted by noise. The woman who knows her mission does not bow to pressure. When you discover why God sent you here, every battle starts to make sense. Every scar becomes a lesson. Every delay becomes preparation. You begin to understand that pain is not punishment, it is positioning. I have seen people run after fame and find emptiness. I have watched people climb the ladder of success, only to realize it was leaning on the wrong wall. But when you wake up to God's plan, your life begins to align. Suddenly, your steps are ordered. Suddenly, doors that were once locked begin to open, not because of who you are, but because of who sent you. Purpose gives you access. Purpose gives you boldness. You stop asking for permission to be great because you know the one who gave you the assignment has already qualified you. You were not made to fit in. You were made to stand out. You were not created to blend with the crowd. You were born to rise, to speak, to lead, to build, to heal, to shift atmospheres with your very existence. But purpose is not always loud. It does not always arrive with applause. Sometimes it is born in the wilderness. Sometimes it is discovered in the fire. You do not find purpose in comfort, you find it in the wrestle. You find it when life breaks you and God begins to rebuild you, not according to society's patterns, but according to his divine blueprint. Because the assignment is too holy to be built on public opinion. That is why the process must be private. That is why you must go through seasons where you are hidden, misunderstood, rejected. Not because you are forgotten, but because purpose is being formed. You are not delayed, you are being sharpened, you are not disqualified, you are being prepared, and when the time is right, the world will not be able to ignore what God is doing through you. There are some listening to me now. You have buried your dreams. You have silenced your calling. You have allowed fear to paralyze what faith was meant to activate. But I came to resurrect what life tried to bury. I came to tell you that your story is not over. Your purpose is not canceled. Your mission is not complete. You may be wounded, but you are still chosen. You may feel unqualified, but God still says you're the one. You may be in a valley, but purpose speaks even there. Because it is not where you are that defines you, it is who sent you. And if God sent you, then nothing and no one can stop you unless you decide to stop yourself. We live in an age where confusion is marketed and distraction is glorified. The noise of the world is so loud that many cannot even hear the whisper of their own calling. You were born with a divine purpose. But if you do not seek the voice of the one who created you, you will chase shadows and call it direction. You will follow trends and call it identity. That is why understanding God's voice is not just a religious act, it is a survival skill. Because the enemy of purpose is not always evil, sometimes it is busyness, sometimes it is comfort, sometimes it is a well-paying job that is outside your assignment, and unless you can hear the voice of God, you will walk through doors He never opened and wonder why your spirit still feels empty. God does not speak to impress. He speaks to instruct. His voice does not come to entertain, it comes to align. But we have filled our lives with so much clutter, so much scrolling, so much talking, that we have forgotten how to listen. And yet everything you are searching for is hidden in His voice. Direction is in His voice. Peace is in His voice. Strategy is in His voice. Purpose is not discovered on social media. It is discovered in silence, in surrender. In the secret place where God begins to speak not just to your mind, but to your spirit. And when you hear His voice, everything changes. You begin to walk differently. You begin to speak with authority. Because you are no longer guessing, you are guided. The tragedy of many destinies is not a lack of talent. It is a lack of divine instruction. Samson was strong, but he fell because he stopped listening. Saul was chosen, but he was rejected because he refused to obey. It is not how you start, it is whether you stay connected, whether you remain tuned into the frequency of heaven. God does not shout over the noise of rebellion. He whispers in the language of obedience, and every time you ignore His voice, you delay your progress. Every time you substitute His word for your will, you take a detour from your divine path. You may still be moving, but you're not advancing. You may be growing in status, but you're shrinking in spirit. Do you not know that one word from God can do more than 10 years of human effort? One whisper from heaven can unlock what 1,000 degrees cannot. But God does not speak to the casual. He reveals Himself to the surrendered. The question is not whether God is speaking. The question is whether you are still listening. Because when your heart is open, even silence becomes sacred. When your spirit is aligned, even delays feel divine. You begin to discern the difference between a good opportunity and a God opportunity. You begin to recognize that not every open door is your assignment. Some are traps dressed as blessings, and without God's voice, you will walk into destruction with a smile, thinking it is favor. If you are too busy to pray, you are too busy to succeed. If you are too loud to listen, you are too distracted to grow. The greatest battles in life are not fought with fists, they are fought in moments of decision. And without the voice of God guiding your decisions, you will keep starting over, keep losing peace, keep wondering why your progress has no purpose. But when God speaks, clarity enters the room. When God speaks, your enemies lose power. When God speaks, your storms begin to submit, because His word is not just sound, it is strategy. It builds, it protects. It shifts, it reveals, it delivers. The secret to purpose is not found in ambition, it is found in alignment. And alignment only comes when your ears are tuned to the frequency of heaven. Many pray, but few listen. Many speak, but few wait. But if you are serious about discovering your assignment, you must develop the discipline of divine listening. God will not shout over the chaos you've invited. He will wait until you're quiet enough to hear. And when He speaks, the direction you've been seeking, the identity you've been questioning, the future you've been fearing will all begin to make sense. There is a reason the enemy attacks your prayer life. There is a reason he distracts you when you try to be still. Because he knows if you ever truly hear God, you will become unstoppable. You will walk into rooms carrying authority. You will walk through battles carrying strategy. You will walk into purpose carrying confidence that comes not from applause but from instruction. Because when God speaks to you, man cannot manipulate you, culture cannot confuse you, fear cannot control you. We live in a world where success is measured by applause, by numbers, by influence, and by how much you possess. But the truth that many run from is this: real fulfillment is not found in worldly achievement, but in walking in divine alignment with God's purpose. You can have the whole world clapping for you and still be empty inside. You can be on the cover of magazines and still feel lost at midnight. Because until you are doing what God placed you on this earth to do, there will always be a void no human praise can fill. The enemy's greatest weapon is not always sin, it is misdirection. He wants to keep you successful at the wrong thing, productive in areas God never assigned to you, busy but barren, visible but invisible in heaven's eyes. The greatest tragedy is not dying. It is living a life that was never yours to live. Many wake up every day and go through motions that were never meant for them. They follow career paths because culture says so, not because God led them there. They marry people they were never meant to build with. They chase platforms instead of seeking purpose. They allow the world to dictate their value instead of hearing it from the one who formed them in secret. But here is a truth no man can silence. Purpose is not found outside of God. It is birthed in intimacy with the Creator. Until you know the one who made you, you can never truly know why you were made. You cannot walk in destiny while ignoring divinity, and let me tell you this, walking in divine purpose is not always comfortable. It will stretch you, it will break your pride, it will challenge your desires. Because God is not interested in making you famous, He is committed to making you faithful. You may be called to walk alone. You may be called to places that make no sense to those around you. Noah built an ark when there was no rain. Moses returned to the land he once escaped. Esther risked her life for a nation. Purpose will never beg for public approval. It moves by divine instruction, and when you walk in it, you are not moved by who is clapping or who is criticizing. You are anchored by the knowledge that heaven is watching, heaven is backing you, and heaven is depending on your obedience. Divine purpose is not found in comfort zones. It is found where faith is required. You will not always feel qualified, but God does not call the qualified, He qualifies the called. He will take your weakness and make it a weapon. He will take your scars and make them sermons. He will take your failures and use them as fuel for those you are assigned to reach. Because purpose is never about you. It's always bigger. It's about impact. It's about legacy. It's about being a vessel, not a celebrity. It's about surrender, not spotlight. Many of you are frustrated because you are trying to fit into a system God never called you to. You are trying to sit at tables He never built for you, and you wonder why there is no peace. It is because your soul knows it was not made to survive, it was made to fulfill. You were not created to impress, you were created to influence. But influence without God's direction is noise. Purpose without God's hand is chaos. That is why you must stop running after what looks good and start walking into what is God. Because when you walk in your divine purpose, doors open without manipulation. When you are in your divine assignment, you don't have to chase opportunities, opportunities chase you. You don't have to force connections, God sends divine alignments. You don't have to prove yourself, your fruit will speak louder than your voice ever could. Understand this: when you walk in purpose, favor finds you, protection surrounds you, peace carries you. There is a power that comes when you know you are where God wants you to be. Even in the midst of storms, there is a strange confidence, because you know you are not where you want to be, you are where you were sent to be. You are not acting, you are living. You are not guessing, you are guided. You are not surviving, you are fulfilling. There comes a time in every man's life when he must understand that divine purpose is not just about what he does, it is about who he becomes. Because God is not only interested in assigning you to a task, He is transforming you into the kind of vessel that can carry the weight of that task without breaking. Many want the glory, but they do not want the grind. They want the crown, but they flee the crucifixion. They want the purpose, but avoid the process. But hear this: before God ever promotes you, He purifies you. Before He releases you, He refines you. Before He multiplies your influence, He multiplies your capacity to handle pain, pressure, and purpose with humility. You must understand that preparation is not punishment, delays are not denial. Every wilderness you walk through is shaping you. Every unanswered prayer is growing your spiritual muscles. Every betrayal is teaching you discernment. Every closed door is protecting you from disaster. Because if God gives you the promise before he prepares you, the promise will crush you. That is why many rise quickly but fall just as fast. They bypass the furnace, they skip the breaking, but those whom God calls, he breaks, and those whom he breaks, he builds again, not in the image of the world, but in the reflection of Christ. There is a reason God does not reveal everything at once. He shows you the mountain, but he does not tell you about the wilderness in between. He gives you a glimpse of the calling, but he withholds the full cost. Why? Because if you saw the fire, you might run. If you saw the battles, you might retreat. So God shows you enough to ignite your faith, but hides enough to train your endurance, because faith is not proven in blessings. It is proven in silence. When heaven is quiet and hell is loud, do you still believe? When nothing is going your way, do you still trust that you are on the right path? That is the proving ground of destiny. Many of you are in hiding seasons not because God forgot you, but because he is forming you. And when God is forming a weapon, he does it in secret. Joseph was hidden in prison before he ruled in the palace. David was hidden in the field before he sat on the throne. Jesus himself was hidden for 30 years before 3 years of public purpose. But when the time came, they did not need to beg for relevance. The world was ready because heaven had already ordained it. That is what happens when your process is protected by God. You don't need validation when God has already approved you. Do not despise the seasons when no one knows your name. That is where character is born. That is where your roots go deep. That is where your pride dies and your obedience is trained. It is in the private wrestles with God that public victories are birthed. Many want platforms, but few want altars. Many want influence, but few want intimacy. And yet, it is on the altar that oil is produced. It is in intimacy that instructions are downloaded. You cannot walk in divine purpose if you have not spent time with the divine. Your public power will never exceed your private prayer life. No shortcuts, no substitutes. And here is a divine truth: when God is truly at the center of your life, you stop performing and start flowing. You stop competing and start completing your assignment. You no longer chase applause because you are driven by assignment. You are no longer insecure about others' success because you understand your lane is sacred. You are no longer distracted by comparison because your eyes are fixed on the one who called you. You are no longer in a hurry to arrive because you realize becoming is more important than arriving. You do not need to announce your purpose. Let your fruit speak. Let your peace testify. Let your consistency silence every critic. When the hand of God is on your life, you don't need gimmicks. You don't need gimmicks to be great. You don't need manipulation to be promoted. God will raise you in his time, not when you're ready, but when you're ready by his standard. Because divine purpose is not about building a name, it is about advancing a kingdom. It is about surrender. It is about sacrifice. It is about saying, not my will, but yours be done. Even when that will breaks you, strips you, tests you, and presses you.